The world of OLED gaming monitors is expanding every day, with new monitors that tip the balance between performance and pricing. Such a monitor you've seen us talk about a bunch before is the LG UltraGear 45GR95QE, a 45-inch ultra-wide monitor that gave us one of the most impressively immersive experiences we could get in terms of video editing, gaming, and media consumption. So how does this monitor hold up after 1 year? Do we love it like we used to? Or have we moved on to better screens? In our video today, we're going to talk about our experiences regarding the LG UltraGear 45GR95QE and how it holds up after a year. So, without further ado, let's begin. The monitor stuns us to this day, just as it did a year ago. The panel is super thin at the edges, with most of the monitor's guts positioned at the center, giving it a more slender appearance. The stand isn't as overly huge as the other monitors we've used before, and ended up wasting a ton of important space. A 45-inch display makes it one of the largest monitors we've worked with, and with that size, we had to make sure our setup was ready to accommodate it. The one problem we face to this day is how the power supply for this monitor is not built in, so we have to constantly find a place for the chunky power adapter and make sure it doesn't get in the way. A monitor this big should have a power supply built in for easier maneuverability, and it would have made us, the users, a lot happier. Around the back, we see a bit of RGB lighting that lights up the sides of the monitor and illuminates the wall behind and the desk underneath, which made for a pretty cool effect, though the color selection was pretty limited. We also would have appreciated an option like Logitech LightSync to match the lights with the contents on the screen. Right off the bat, you probably remember us talking about how the port selection is solid in the UltraGear, and a year later, it holds true. The monitor houses two HDMI 2.1 and a DisplayPort 1.4 input, allowing us to take full advantage of the resolution and refresh rate using either connection. We've had monitors that were a bit more limited through HDMI, and we are really happy to see LG not going down that path since we used this with a gaming laptop and took full advantage as well. However, we are still kinda sad regarding the monitor not coming with a USB-C, since this is one of those features that would make the monitor perfect for us, since it'd allow us to fully utilize the refresh rate and resolution. Also, although a bit personal, we would have loved having a built-in speaker. Now yes, we know how these things have a bad reputation, but not everyone would want to invest extra money on a separate soundbar or a sound system, especially when they're using this monitor for console games. We always loved having built-in speakers to fall back to, since we don't have to rely on headphones. Would have been a nice addition, but oh well. Now of course, what matters the most in a monitor is the display itself, and the LG UltraGear, even after 1 year, is nothing less than phenomenal. It comes with a large 44.5-inch ultra-wide OLED panel with a 21:9 aspect ratio. The panel itself is fairly uncommon, and the only monitor we found it can be compared to was the Corsair Xeneon Flex, a monitor that comes with the same panel but with a different form factor and a bendable display. That's important because while you might find monitors with better display panels such as the Alienware AW2725DF, it's hard to find competition for this specific monitor even to this day. Despite being a model that originated in 2023, this is still one of our favorite options to have around. Despite not being the latest model, the OLED panel is absolutely fantastic, as the colors on the display look stunning as they did a year ago, and the individually controlled pixel brightness gave us one of the best HDR experiences we've ever had. We found ourselves getting well beyond the advertised 200 nits of brightness, with deep blacks and bright whites without either of them feeling blown out. The whole spectrum of colors made our game come close to realism, as you can see in Forza Horizon 5, and how stunning it looks. Cyberpunk 2077 looks beautiful at night, as the neon glazed skyline gives us a sense of nostalgia and an uncanny sense of happiness. On top of that, the 240Hz refresh rate combined with 0.03 millisecond response time made sure the games ran smoothly without any smearing while keeping that sharp tone, where it's hard not to see everything as pixel perfect. We found how changing settings on the LG UltraGear 45GR95QE was something unique, as the monitor came with a remote. The button underneath the monitor couldn't do much by itself, apart from switching inputs or changing the brightness and volume. The remote made everything way easier and more advanced, and gave us a sense of better functionality. We had quick access to changing inputs, volumes, and brightness, and could easily navigate the full menu to enable picture-by-picture mode or configure the lighting. The software did a pretty decent job if you're the kind of person who doesn't want to rely on the remote control, as we've been given the option to install on-screen controls. This gives you all the controls built into the OSD settings with a bit more intuitive interface, making you less reliant on the remote. However, you won't get to work with picture-by-picture mode, nor can you customize the RGB lighting, which we found to be a bit weird move from LG. So, is the LG UltraGear 45GR 95QE worth it even after a year? Well, the monitor itself is a fairly unique one that's going to appeal to the majority. However, do keep in mind that not everyone wants something this big or curvy, but if you're like us and you do, it's hard to find a monitor that can compete with this in the current market. The OLED display is beautiful, and the size makes for an incredibly immersive experience. Despite the minimal downsides, this is a terrific monitor, and we couldn't recommend it enough. But that's only our 2 cents on the monitor. What do you think? Do let us know your thoughts and opinions, as we'd love to hear from you. And, as for everything else, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit the bell icon if you want more content like this on your feed.